The man cannot even read or write.
Can his penis read or write? Saying that he has
like
the mind of a child,
going.
so therefore he should be able to
Yeah,
be with
it may
children?
be something. That's what I'm saying.
So on one hand, you call him a genius.
What adult person thinks to do that? Like,
but then on the other hand, he's too mentally slow.
He doesn't understand why this is wrong.
So that makes him even more dangerous then, doesn't it? What do you think the definition of a pedophile is? What do you think the definition of that is?
But I just feel like...
Hello,
okay,
ma'am?
go ahead.
Hello, ma'am? Can you hear me? Okay, I'm going to let Attorney Griggs...
So trying to justify something which is unjustifiable.
People, what about, ma'am, hello, ma'am, can you hear me?
Okay.
Listen, when I start speaking, I really need you to stop speaking. Twisted joy and pleasure to see other people in pain. You know that there are people out there who are bad people.
Do you like teenage girls?
He specifically sought out.
When you say teenage, how are we talking?
He drove around by the high school.
Mr. Kelly allegedly not being able to read, even though he was in court with a pen and a paper taking notes.
What place does he have in civilization? He is behind bars for 25 to life, as he should be. You're on the air live with Tonya TKO and Attorney Gerald Griggs. What is your name?
Letitia, this is my take on it, and I'm not trying to make light of the situation or make an excuse for this man. I believe that everything he did is wrong and he should be punished. I am only questioning the competency of Mr. Robert Kelly. He obviously has a problem. He obviously, because he's continuing to do the same thing. I know I closely monitored and watched the court case on Court TV, some of the tidbits that they did show. And you had reporters openly stating that the man cannot even read or write with competency. So I was just trying to figure out, why isn't this being questioned and his issue being confronted with that being a factor? Because it's obvious when I'm looking at him, I feel like it's something wrong with him.
So what is it that you're actually saying? I need you to sum up what it is that you're saying. Are you saying because he can't read or write that he didn't do these things, that he shouldn't be held accountable? What are you saying?
No, I'm just saying that maybe there's another factor that we're not exploring. Why this man has the mindset to say, okay, I just only want to be with young girls, or my desire is for women who are not adults yet and who cannot make this decision for themselves to be with me. That's all I'm saying.
So are you saying that he has the mind of a child, so therefore he should be able to be with children?
Yeah, it may be something. That's what I'm saying. It may be something else going on with him that we're just not exploring. Because I'm just thinking about it, like if it was a man that lives at the corner of the street and he was reaching out to young girls and, doing things in the community and everybody knew about it, people would be outraged. But then we will also try to examine, well, what's wrong with this man? But nobody's doing that for R. Kelly. Nobody's looking at the complete picture of, because it's to me, I see something's wrong with him. I just feel like something's wrong with him.
Okay, so what do you think the solution should be? That we should touch him on his shoulder and look into his eyes and be like, are you okay?
Well, no, I don't think that he shouldn't be held accountable for his actions, because in that room, he is the adult and he should know right from wrong. But I'm just saying that maybe we should be looking at also that maybe his competency level or his ability to know right from wrong at the age that he is may not be there. That's all I'm saying.
So that makes him even more dangerous then, doesn't it? Because if you have this big grown man who, I mean, whether or not he could read or write, I don't see the relevancy of that. I mean, can his penis read or write? Was his penis picking up a book when it was trying to penetrate into a child? No, I don't see how that has any relevance. But you're saying that he may not have the mental competency and that we should be looking at the fuller picture However, I'm confused. How would that make it better if he doesn't have the competency and he has all of this money and power and people under his control?
Well, I think that he has this power because of money. So if he wasn't this musical genius, he wouldn't have the money. So we get that. But I just feel like it's something else in the background that also needs to be examined, because anybody with the competency of an adult, I just feel like they would stop. He was already tried for something similar in 2008. And then it's like he went into full steam ahead. So I'm like, okay.
So do you know what do you think the definition of a pedophile is? What do you think the definition of that is?
A person who takes advantage or tries to hurt people who aren't in the ability to say yes or no with a competent level of,
a person who is attracted to children. A pedophile is a person who is attracted to children. All pedophiles do not hurt children. There are people who have attraction to children. There's something going on in them that makes them attracted to children. But all pedophiles don't assault children. There are certain people who assault children, who give themselves the permission to assault children. So on one hand, you call him a genius. You're like, oh, he's a genius, so he has this money. But then on the other hand, he's too mentally slow to be able to stop his penis. And the whole enterprise that he had, trafficking children to and fro for his use. Anyway, counselor, answer her question. Counselor, hold on, ma'am.
I understand that, but I just feel like,
hello, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me? Okay, I'm going to let Attorney Griggs answer whatever it is that he heard you say.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to understand, but it just sounds like you're saying that because he doesn't have the cognitive ability to read, that maybe we should look into that helping to cause his pedophilia.
Well, not just to read. It's about comprehension. That's where I'm going. I'm not going with the ability just to read or to write, but it's one thing to word call, but then it's one thing to comprehend what you just read. So people think if people are like slow, that they're all the way slow and they don't know anything, or that they are, like, as lack of a better word, mentally challenged. But I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that he has some issues. He may have some issues going on. And I think that may need to be examined. And I'm not giving him an out.
I think I understand now. I think I understand. I think I understand. So you're basically saying that he has some obvious cognitive things going on. He may have some deficits, and that he may not know right from wrong. And so you're saying he may not know right from wrong, right?
I'm not going to say right from wrong. I'm going to say
so he
in
may
the
not
realm of his sexual, I think in his sexual conquest, he doesn't understand why this is wrong.
So he doesn't understand why being with a young lady or a little girl may be wrong. But what about when there's a person screaming, ma'am? What about when there's a person screaming, please let me out of this room, I have to defecate? Did he not know that it was wrong not to let her out of the room? What about when Andrea Kelly says that if the milk was too cold or too hot, that she would get beat, that he dragged her and tied her up and assaulted her with his phallus? So that's the thing. So he has an attraction to children. But what about all of the other stuff? Hitting, abusing, smearing feces on people. Feces doesn't smell good. I mean, even if your mind doesn't comprehend that it's wrong to put it on people, it's atrocious smelling. What about having people? What about ma'am? Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Listen, when I start speaking, I really need you to stop speaking, okay? Because I'm asking you a question. I want to know how you feel about what it is that I'm asking you. When he had people write letters incriminating themselves so that he could use that as blackmail to keep them in his midst, that there was something inside of him that just didn't connect, that was wrong, as he saw people crying in pain and reaching out for their parents, that he didn't know that was not wrong.
Is it my turn to go ahead and speak? I'm just stating that you were saying that he was smearing feces, defecating on people or whatever. What I'm just stating is that that's still like a childlike behavior. What adult person thinks to do that? Like, it just doesn't compute to me.
There are some people out there who are bad people. You know that there are people out there who are bad people. They do things, they have these fetishes, they do things because it brings them some sort of twisted joy and pleasure to see other people in pain. And according to what it is that you're saying, this makes him even more dangerous because that means that he won't stop. He's emboldened, which means he needs to be taken out of the general population. He needs not come into contact with people.
That he doesn't need to be put away.
So then I don't understand what was the purpose of your statements in this call. That's what's confusing me. For you to tell us that maybe he doesn't know that harming children is wrong.
I don't think that he understands that in his sexual conquest, it being with young women, and I don't think that he knows, even from his previous interviews, when the man asked him, do you like having sex with young girls? He goes ahead and he says, well, how young are you speaking of? Like, he is not computing that this is wrong.
I'm sorry, that was the interview with Toure, I believe it was his name. And he said, do you like to be with teenage girls? And he's like, how do you define teenage? And he's like, teenage.
Do you like teenage girls? When you say teenage, how are we talking? Girls who are teenagers. 19?
So R. Kelly knew, because he verified who was a teenager or not beforehand. It's not like he was getting with 20-year-old. He specifically sought out. He drove around by the high school. There's some people out there who are predators. Counselor, it looks like you have something that you want to say.
It's just that I'm hearing what you're saying, and where Mr. Kelly is probably going to go, they're going to have psychosexual counseling within the prison where he can deal with these issues. But again, they do not mitigate or justify what he did under the eyes of the law. And I understand sort of what you're trying to get at, but all of that goes into rehabilitation, which occurs within the four walls of a penal institution for individuals who have a criminal predation behavior that needs to be adjusted. None of that's going to happen in free society because, you know, when somebody says, do you like teenage girls? And he says, what do you mean, like 19? That shows a consciousness that he knows the cutoff age that the law says he should not be dealing with, and he's trying to justify his behavior. So Mr. Kelly allegedly not being able to read, even though he was in court with a pen and a paper taking notes, shows that that's a consciousness of trying to justify something which is unjustifiable.
All right.
Okay.
Caller, thank you so much for giving your point of view. It's a different point of view, and there's some people who may feel what you're saying. There may be some people who, so ultimately, do you think he should be imprisoned, even though he may have cognitive?
Okay. I do think that he should be in prison. I feel like he does need to get some help, but I just feel like it's something else. Because I don't feel like we need to let rapists or anybody just run around and assault people just because they have money, they should be able to do this. But I just feel like he just needs to be looked at in complete, the whole thing.
What difference would it make? If there is a person who cannot govern themselves in accordance with the laws of a society, if they can't govern themselves within the morals of a society, they are going to be taken out of that society. Whether they have some sort of slowness or whether or not, whatever is going on, they need to be removed from society where other people will not be harmed by them. He had a 25 year or longer reign of terror. And there are still people apparently who are under the guise of the terror that he inflicted upon them. So whether or not he has some sort of issue or whether or not he was harmed himself as a child, I don't see how that has any relevance. At the end of the day, this is about getting his behavior to stop. As you stated, he did not stop on his own. He became more emboldened when he won his last trial, or when he was acquitted, rather. So what place does he have in civilization? What place does he have among innocent children?
I was speaking to the fact that maybe in 2008, who's to say if he was not acquitted and he was found guilty and there was some sort of looking at him and complete and seeing that, hey, he obviously has a problem. Maybe he could have gotten help and maybe this would have stopped.
Well, as Attorney Griggs stated, the facility that he is going to go to will have some sort of counselor there for him to work with him as he is behind bars for 25 to life, as he should be. Thank you so much for calling in. All right, so listen, we can't let that be our last call. We're going to take one last call and then we're going to wrap it up. Somebody said I'm being passive aggressive. No, I don't believe in passive aggression. I'm aggressive. Listen, take the passive out of it. You're on the Air Live with Tonya.
Watch the full video on YouTube or Facebook at Tonya TKO. Link in the description. It's at Tonya TKO on YouTube and at Tonya TKO Show on Facebook.